And we are all set up and ready to go. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Factorio. So when we last left off, we were working on Aquilo, trying to figure out how to get all this stuff functional. So, let's see, what do we need to do specifically here? We've got power now, and with efficiency modules all over the place, we should be able to get a decent amount of work done with the power. But right, the main issue here was that we need to do something about all this ice. Perhaps unsurprising that the main problem on Aquilo is ice buildup. So, we need some way of just destroying the ice, because the thing is, we need to have spare ice because there are recipes that use it, like the ice platforms, for example. We also need spare ammonia because there are recipes that use that. So we need to be able to get rid of the excess ice without, like, just not producing enough of it in the first place. So, if we... let's see, if we take the excess ammonia and turn it into ice platforms, that can be something of some way of tiding us over. So where are the assembling machines? Okay, so if we put an assembly machine there, tell you to make ice platforms, and we are going to feed you with those. And, oh right, I forgot that the main thing we're dealing with right now is that we don't have heat pipes just yet. And this is showing up with a whole bunch of stuff, but only 50 heat pipes. Meanwhile, Aquilo Support 2 is still being constructed. So hopefully those 50 additional heat pipes will be something at least. So, how many of these do we have to spare? Yeah, now we've got plenty built up. So our next delivery of heat pipes should be a ton. But this one is going to be just kind of small. So, let's see here. If I just like go into this mode so I can at least build that out. So that gets the ice into the machine. Then we need to get the ammonia over, which is not going to be trivial because of this heat pipe there. So we need that heat pipe to actually run along that way so that this can go one over to an underground pipe there, which then outputs to an underground pipe there, and then that pipe can just come up this way and get connected up to that heat pipe, and so then this would go all the way up to there and then across like that, and we can get those heat pumps to work out pretty easily. Actually, if we just take that out and move you over one like that, no, because then that still needs a heat pipe. So we can go underground there and then up to that. Alright, so that is all that. So once we have these heat pipes in, so we can replace this one. Wait, is that even going to work? Yes, because that's directly connected up to this. Maybe? Okay, wait, no, I think we need that to actually be one further so that that can get connected up properly. Alright, so this is here. Let's drop the heat pipes down and also drop a whole bunch of nuclear fuel down just in case. Hopefully it won't be needed, but we might need it to kickstart production again if something goes horribly wrong. Alright. Heat pipes are here. And now those are all built. And this can be built. And now we just need that one, which needs to rebuild that power line, which apparently wasn't necessary because it was looped. Okay, so now we can take that out and that out and have this go under, connect up to here, and now we use a whole bunch of ice, which I just realized we're gonna have to output this, which means get a heat pipe over to somewhere. Alright, so yeah, you can output into a box like that, and then I guess we have these heat pipes here, which can run up into the correct area, and then we connect a power pole. And so this takes 2 ice cubes per second. This outputs 5 and 50 ammonia, and this uses 30 ammonia. So if we give you 1 speed module and a whole bunch of efficiency modules, that should theoretically be fast enough, and you're still at the efficiency limit, I think, so that's fine. Alright, so that can take all of those. Then this takes another one, so we're using in total 4 of the ice cubes out of 5, which should give us access to 40 ammonia, which is enough for that. Not enough for this, though. So we actually need even more ammonia for all this to work out. That's awkward. And also, this just sort of pushes the problem down the road, because now we have these ice platforms, but that box is eventually going to fill up as well, which I'm not all that happy about. But at least it hopefully... No, actually, this is going to potentially just get us even more stuck because it's using the ammonia. It's using more ammonia than we have. So actually, we need you to be slightly faster so that you produce enough of everything. And then we need... So now this could produce enough of everything if we had enough ice cube output. There's got to be something we can just do to just completely just vent the ice cubes and get rid of them. So we can turn them into water. I guess we could, like, recycle. I guess we could just recycle them, actually. That's an option. Where's the... Did I bring any of those with me? I did. Alright, this is the tech that we need. We need to... we need to get the ice cubes out of this tiny little area as well. Alright. Alright, that box is completely filled with them, so we're never going to be able to dismantle that. Now my inventory is full, so let's throw some ice cubes into the Spidertron. Okay, so now we can pick all that up. And this belt, we're just going to bring all the way out up to here where we have room to work. And then we still do want to be making the ice platforms, which go there and get filled up by that. And then we just sort of ramp the heat pipes around to there. And you are going to be making ice platforms. Where are those? Alright, so now that that is up and we have hopefully enough space that this all becomes doable. Okay, we need to like do that and then connect you up to there. We don't need those. Now we need the heat pipes to keep going, which is weirdly difficult here. So we need that pipe to go around like that so it's not in the way. And this one goes up to there, and this space platform is just sitting here doing nothing, right? Give me some of those and then start moving on back so that the next time I need you, you can be available. Alright, then we need to get this heat pipe up to here somehow, which, let's see, if we do something like that, we can take that power line out and rebuild it somewhere else. And then this heat pipe can go up and around. And actually, we want to cut that down a little bit so that, no, even more than that, because we need this belt to escape out somewhere as well. So we get that set up, and now this belt goes out to there, which is still not enough. So what if we have you go all the way down to there, and then the heat pipe goes across, then this comes out, and now we have options up there. So this is connected up to everything. We need to give it its output and bring a heat pipe up like so. And then we need to remove more of that ice. Alright, now we just need to get the recycler in. So we pop a recycler down here, and it is going to feed from that and then just loop back into itself, which, let's see, we can actually do this slightly more optimally just by doing that. So then you take from there and input up to there. Okay, now we need to use more underground pipes because heat pipes are the worst, and we're out of heat pipes. Alright, is there anywhere with extra heat pipes that we can just like spare? We can spare that one technically and get you up to there, which almost has this working. We need to get all the way up around to there, but at least this is something. So that is that. And we need our heat pipes to get up to there so that we can get that looped in. But this is still kind of just a total mess. And we have to do this manually. How much is this? So this can destroy 12 ice cubes per second, which is pretty good. If we can get it looping properly, that would be great. Otherwise, we're going to have to keep doing it this way. Alright, so let's go back into this mode and bring the heat pipes up to there, which is where they'll need to go once we have more heat pipes actually available. Those will just show up. How is Aquilo Support 2 doing? It seems mostly built, but it needs to get powered up, first of all. So yeah, we need to get that powered up so that all this stuff can work. And then we need this bottom group to be different. So first of all, you need heat pipes, and preferably like hundreds of them. So hopefully that can get booted up and moving along. Now while we're here, we actually have enough to craft a couple of these. Hopefully enough to get it finished. Alright, we are once again a single heat pipe short. There's got to be somewhere in here. Yes, these heat pipes down here are currently wasted. So we can pick those up and get that going. Alright, so now we are able to get rid of the excess ice. And we can also be making some of these. Alright. Gosh, just like even popping a temporary chest down to throw stuff in is super annoying in this place. So I guess if we just do that, that should work. Oh, that's wrong, right? So that has to go back one more. Alright, so that should get rid of all the insane amount of excess ice that we have. Shout out to recyclers for being cool. Okay, so that is all going. How much is this? That's producing 1200 ammonia solution. We're using 75, so that's not a concern at all. And we are capable of dealing with 100% of the output there, although that assembly machine up here, we might as well get efficiency modules on those too, just to keep us going on the relatively limited power that we have. At some point, we're going to scale this all up, and we should be able to just like scale this pretty big if we have the space to do so, which we definitely don't currently. Alright, so at this point we're stable, right? We are successfully disposing of absolutely 100% of the ice. Okay, so now the ammonia solution is building up, but the ammonia solution... Okay, so the ammonia solution makes solid fuel. Is that the only thing? So we make solid fuel and ice platforms. So the only demand for ammonia solution really is the power. But because it is demanded by the power, it'll never get stuck. And the ice supply is also somewhat demanded by power. So we should still be fine unless the amount of ice cubes now starts to drop because we're backlogged on ammonia solution. So is there anything... What do we use the ammonia solution for? We can make more rocket fuel. Why does that have flavor text? Why does that recipe have flavor text? Like, none of these other recipes... Is that the only recipe that has flavor text? Am I going crazy? A convenient use of ammonia. Why does it say that? Why is that... Huh? Alright, let's just not think about the flavor text for a second. Or, like, bioplastic doesn't have it, none of these recipes has it. Why does this one singular recipe have flavor text? Do any of the other ones have flavor text? None of these have flavor text. What is going on? Why is that the way that it is? Okay, see this, it has text in that spot, but it's like useful, informative text about how to get the ammonia solution. Alright, let's just not think about that. Let's just think about something else. How do we get any of this other stuff? So we need to make lithium, which requires importing holmium, which is going to be a whole thing. And it also requires lithium brine, which we just grabbed from down here, right? I think that was the lithium brine, so we can pump jack that if we can get down to it, which I don't know how we're going to be doing that. I guess with foundations. Alright, how does the science pack work? It's just ice, lithium plates, and cold fluoroketone. So we do actually need to make or gain access to enough lithium to make the science packs. So we have these ice platforms, so those can be used to build across and get down there. So that shouldn't be too bad. We can also use them to build in a couple of these random spots which are in the way, so that'll be handy. And we're building... we've got a chunk of them at least. Nothing crazy, but it's something. Alright. And then the power supply is still seemingly doing fine. Is this temperature stable? Yeah, the temperature is at least internally going up over time, which is good. And, alright. Yeah, I think everything is stable here. I don't think we have any issues at all. So we're slowly chipping away at this. Yes, we're all stable. So the next step is making lithium, which requires holmium plates, which there's definitely no way of getting that on this planet, right? We just simply have to import that. Kind of annoying, but fine. Do we need a lot of it? 1 holmium plates equals 5 lithium. And then that's 1 to 1. And this is 1 to like 50, but it's fluid, so who knows what's going on there. Yeah, that should be fine. And then there's fluorine up there. Oh, fluorine was something related to some process I was trying to figure out, right? Oh yes, this recipe needs fluorine, which we just import from up north. Alright, so I guess step 1 is going to be getting holmium plates here. And we're just going to need that to be a stable supply. So let's go to... okay, both of these are just stopped at novice. So you've got your like 300 of those. So you can just move up to get back here. So this one, you need to get holmium plates from Fulgora. And that does need to be kind of long-term setup. So you can get moving towards that. Now, on Fulgora, I believe our holmium plate supply... Okay, we have a ton of them in here. But as far as future production of them, actually we're doing fine. This is all backlogged considerably. Did we turn this off? Yes, we did. Okay. So, how about we set this up using some logic? So if we... Because I still want to make quality holmium stuff. I just don't want it to be wasted. So that is going to be connected to everything, and if that is greater than 1,000 maybe, then enable disable. So, oh boy, you did not get fully set up. Okay. You'd gotten fully built, but you had not completely loaded all of your ammunition. So that's a bit of an issue, and apparently we lost that entire wing, so that's not great, but yikes. Alright, well, hopefully you can make your way back. Okay. And now this is all just getting torn apart. As long as it can make its way back, it doesn't have to go far. And ultimately the losses weren't that bad. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, that's not ideal at all. Okay, so you just stop everything being exploded, and you can just get back to Novice. And it looks like the thing which hasn't happened is we haven't gotten calcite back this way. So, right, in order for everything to work, we need this whole system over here providing water to everything to back up. And then we get calcite over here so that we can get iron through the system and then start making our ammunition, and that just didn't happen. I forgot that that was a thing. I definitely should have checked. That was just a very clumsy mistake on my end. Fortunately, our ability to construct rockets is massive, and 98% of this is intact, so we should be fine. Okay, now back on Novice. Apparently some biters have found their way... How did you get there? Walked up through this? Alright, that's weird, but very manageable. Let's just get some laser turrets in this general vicinity. That should deal with them. And then apparently we also need... They really came from... How did they even... They really came from the weirdest possible angle, huh? Alright. Well, we can just put in a wall of lasers in here. And that should more or less cover that. I mean, I guess I might want to expand this all the way out, but I really shouldn't need to. Alright, so yeah, those lasers got built. Fighters have been killed, and fortunately we don't super rely on the solar power for electricity anymore, so the damage is kind of trivial. Alright, so back up to here. This is going to be rebuilt. So back to Aquilo. What was I actually doing? Oh, I was actually working on Fulgora, right? So this is enable disable on holmium ore. And this was the wrong circuits to connect to. So we need you connected into those circuits. Holmium ore greater than 1,000. And Then you go across one more over to there, and now we see we have 2,000 holmium ore, so we're fine turning it into quality, which hopefully will happen a little bit, and then we're going to keep just relying on this one up here to provide the plates for everything else. So this makes 0.7 plates per second. We use technically over time effectively 0 here, right? Because that isn't a constant demand. We use a good chunk there, but not that many. And we have another holmium plate supply over here, which... Okay, so this is something, right? So this also provides holmium plates from our holmium solution, but it doesn't feed into the provider chest. So what I actually want is for that to align like that. We need to get our Spidertron. I don't think we ever did. Oh, we might have. I'm not sure how much, like, planetary logistics we've done for this. So you get input priority right. So as long as this supply of holmium plates will be enough, we're going to prioritize it so that this can mostly just feed the box. Alright, so that is that. And this is getting holmium ore, but it should stop once it gets too low. And the actual input of everything is still working properly somehow. So that's good. Okay, so Aquilo support is coming, and it's got a bunch of heat pipes, which is nice. So if we want to make lithium, we need to get somewhere with access to holmium plates, lithium brine, and ammonia, which means we need to get the ammonia out of here and down this way. And then we need to construct a bridge down to this island thing to get the lithium brine. And that is formatted like vents, but there's actually a finite amount in them, which is different from how that usually works. Alright, the fluorine is just like a normal vent though, so we don't have to worry about fluorine ever running out. We might eventually run out of lithium brine. Okay, so let's get that land bridge started. We're going to need so much ice platforms for this probably. And we do need this to be too wide to get the heat pipes across as well. So this just goes all the way down to there, and it does make it. So that's good. So let's get a pump jack into one of those, at least for now. And okay, we're also going to need to bring the what's it called? We're also going to need to bring power down, which we can just hide in between the vents. Alright, so why has that stopped wanting to get built? Did I just get too far away, or do I have to hold down different buttons? No, apparently I need to manually place the concrete and not miss spots. And okay, we technically wasted a little bit there, but it should be fine. Just get this all the way up to the mainland mass, and then that's that. Alright, now this pipe comes all the way up, and then over somewhere to here, where it'll eventually connect up to the ammonia. Or, yeah, so this is providing lithium brine. That goes all the way up here. Holmium plates come from there. Ammonia comes from there. And those are the only 3 things that we need. So, let's see here. Aquilo support arrived. So let's dump the heating pipes down. Has this been set up yet? Not quite. We are still short on various supplies. We still need the calcite. And the thing is, once we get a little bit of calcite in, it basically just covers us forever. Like, the amount of calcite we need to get over there is not that high. We just need all of this stuff to stack back first, which will take a while, which means we're not exactly in a rush. Why is that drone just floating there? Okay, apparently we also have 20 billion ice in our inventory still. So let's dump all of that into there. And that will eventually just destroy all of that. Alright, now let's get... Did I pick up those heat pipes? No, I did not. Let's just grab those. Grab some of the extra concrete, because that's necessary. We also need more pipes. Does this have pipes on it? No, but it's got a whole bunch of iron plates, so that should be fine. Let's craft up a bunch of those and a bunch of those. Through the power of manual crafting, we will do all that. Okay, so now we just have to run a heat pipe, like... Actually, is that even a good idea? Wouldn't it be better to just... No, because we have to run the heat pipe along this entire thing anyways, so it kind of just doesn't matter. I was considering just running solid fuel down as a belt, but maybe that will be part of the solution at some point in the future, is just running fuel around to various places. But for now, we do need to have a pipe go all the way across the ocean here. So that comes down, and we just keep on going. That needs to not extend out that way. Okay, so that is gonna be all connected across, and eventually that'll work. I don't know how much like heat that actually takes. So yeah, now apparently that is enough heat that this is cooling somewhat, although potentially just until that's heated up. But either way, we can make sure that it isn't an issue. So we just pop another one of you guys in there, get it all heated up and everything. And now we definitely have enough heat to have everything good. And this is probably still going to be going down, but it should eventually get there. Okay, now for the power poles. How much ice platforms do we have? Almost none. Okay, so I guess what we need to do is just like... This would be so much easier if we had ever, at any point in our entire life, decided to make big electrical poles. That would have certainly solved our problems here. So I guess it's never too late to start. Let's get some of those guys down. Get them heated up, because that's still a thing that you need to do every time. And these are each gonna get a stack of iron. And is that bonus oh right, that's productivity from the research. I was gonna say, like, I didn't know electric furnaces had productivity bonuses, but they don't. It's just the steel plates productivity research that we have, which is quite convenient. So we just need to get like a couple big electrical poles so that we can make this trip with fewer extra space. So we don't need this to be like a permanent setup, although, yeah, I mean, we can't even have it be a permanent setup because there's no iron on this entire planet. Alright, so that is our second big electrical pole. And we get, let's see, one of them is going to go right here at sort of the last spot where it's relatively easy to run regular power lines out. Gosh, power lines not having to interact with the heat stuff, it just is so convenient, by the way. Alright, so then that goes down. Not quite all the way, but close enough to be not an issue. And then we just run power lines the rest of the way. And now we have lithium brine. And because this is technically finite, we will get some modules in. And now this one pump jack, and I guess technically the electric furnaces are like 90% of our electricity demand. And do beacons benefit from their own efficiency modules? Is that how that works? So if we get a beacon with efficiency modules in, that is not, let's see, that's 480 plus 99, so it's like 580. Take that out, that's like 200. So yeah, beacon with efficiency module is not the way to go unless the machine already takes a whole lot of power. So this makes apparently a trivially small amount of lithium brine when you have it productivity moduled. But that's fine. So how much lithium brine do we need for this? We need 50 for 5 of these. Alright, yeah, we're going to need more pump jacks. Do we have crafting supplies for that? Where are the pump jacks? No, because we need more steel for those, which fortunately we are smelting up here. So we've got some of those. So let's craft up a couple more pump jacks and get those set up eventually. So Aquilo support is just sitting here. Oh, we can actually just dump down several hundred of that, and some more concrete, which is used for basically everything. And I guess while we're at it, we'll dump the copper down as well. Then you can go back. Aquilo support 2, how is you doing? You are doing good. The rocket supply has not made it all the way around yet. So we're still going to have to wait for a little bit for the rocket supply to go, but that should still be relatively fast. And then we'll have our second Aquilo support, which can start bringing the holmium ore up. Not in a huge rush anyways, so that's fine. Let's see, now we have our additional pump jacks. We can run down here and get all of these guys set up. And let's see, let's craft a couple more, because apparently we can use them. Okay, so now we need to get the heat all connected. So you go back like that, and then across to there. Okay, yeah, we are starting to run out of just regular old pipes. So, can I get... Oh, not a furnace. Can I just get an assembler to just make some of those so I don't have to manually do it? Just give you a stack, and we will come back in a moment. For now, let's at least get all of these laid out. So, we get these go across to here. And since we're low on regular pipes, we might as well make that a long underground one. And then followed by another. Actually, we need to get this pipe connected up over to there, which is actually not trivial with the heating demand. Yeah, so I need to think about that actually. So the heat pipe is on the left. So I guess the only way of doing it is to just sort of have this loop all the way around to there. And then that needs to connect all the way around like that. And then this just goes like that, which is horrifically inefficient in terms of space and heat pipes used, but should technically function. And then we connect those guys all up. And okay, this one actually needs to connect in. So if we just have something like that and that, then the heat pipes go around like so, and you're connected up. And then we get our power poles across and up to here. Okay, now that power pole is exactly in the spot where the lithium brine comes out, which we can't do. So you go out there. Then you need to, I guess... Yeah, I guess underground pipes and belts are super convenient here because you only need to have the heat pipes sort of reach out to the edges of them. So that's a good thing to keep note of. So then that allows you to go up around to here and then down to connect that up. And then we need to get all of this just connected down to this pipe system somehow. Which, let's see here. Okay, if we actually... Let's see, can we need to... If it'll be so much easier if we can just get this pipe across to there somehow. Okay, so what if we take that out, you go across like that, you just go directly down and connect up to that side. That pipe doesn't need to exist at all. Alright, so that makes things simpler. So now we just need this to loop around this way, and we're using underground pipes exclusively just because we don't have enough regular pipes. And that needs to connect across to all of those, and then, wait, it doesn't need to go all the way up like that. We can just take this one down one more. Alright, and now all of this lithium brine is connected up. I guess we'll productivity module these. I think we have the power for it. Let's see here. We have a lot of power from steam turbines. The pump jacks are 1.2 megawatts. Yeah, it should be fine, especially when they're probably going to stop working once this fills up, unless this is the limiting factor. Okay, so now we don't have enough solid fuel output to satisfy both of these. So this is 16 megawatts, that's 16 megawatts, so these are 32 megawatts total. Solid fuel is, where are you? 12 megawatts. So we would need like 2 point something, almost 3 per second. Now I think if we just speed module you a little bit, if we just do that, we should be able to then keep up with everything. assuming that this inserter is able to go fast enough, which it is. Now that uses 18 oil per second. This produces 18.6. Although it'll drop down to 9 once it's fully depleted. But that'll be a little bit from now, so we don't really need to worry about that. Power is definitively keeping up. And we've got our lithium brine input. So now we just need to get a couple of chemical plants. We need to get the ammonia down, which should be relatively... Well, I was going to say it should be relatively easy, but then I remember we have to get heat pipes adjacent to everything at all times. So if we have you... Okay, that actually just kind of works out. We just have to... Okay, yeah, so that did end up being quite simple. So we just do that, and then our ammonia solution can get down to this area. The lithium brine is there, the ammonia solution is there, the holmium will eventually be there. So let's pick up that random cryogenic plant, and of course there's a power line running through this. We will pop you in there. This requires fluoroketones, so that's still a little bit away. But now we can make lithium. And this... Alright, it's got a couple module slots. That's funny. That's a lot of module slots. But it doesn't have a built-in productivity bonus, which is kind of whatever. So, okay, we need to get... We need to grab just these pipes that we had crafted and start crafting another batch, because we're going to be using a lot of pipes probably. So then this goes up to here, and we just need to adjust this heat pipe and power pole so that it runs properly. And I believe because it gets diagonals, that should work. There we go. Not too shabby. Lithium brine, check. Next up, holmium. Next up is ammonia. So we need to just run this pipe down this way. And that is going to most efficiently, I guess, just run adjacent to that heat pipe and then come down here. And then that can run like that. These power poles somehow need to get moved again. So then this can go underneath that and connect up like that. Alright, so that is the fluid inputs. Next up we have the holmium. So let's get an inserter, which helpfully isn't just going to immediately start inserting some random junk because of the freezing. So we can just filter that to be holmium plates only. And then you take out a belt of those, which can then run down this way, and apparently one more. It's hard to tell exactly where things need to wind up. So then that is heated, and then we need to bring this down, which apparently we needed to do anyways, and then down to there. Alright, so now once we have access to holmium, we can get lithium, and then in order to get the lithium out, we need this heat pipe to just sort of run around a little bit, like that, which allows us to just get an inserter and a belt in. And that inserter then needs the heat pipe to sneak in next to it. Power pole goes up as well. And then this can go out and do something, probably. So, is Aquilo Support 2 all set up and ready to go? It's got all of its ammo. Yes, alright. So, you can go to Fulgora, and this time not get torn to shreds by asteroids. You actually have ammunition this time. And, let's see, you've got basically everything that you could need in the short term. So that should be all set up. Okay, we need to take that off. We do not need all this nuclear fuel. Can we just dump, like, most of that down? I don't even think we need any of this at this point. Alright. What do we want to be importing here? Can we just grab pipes and underground pipes directly, just to save us on having to manual craft them on Aquilo, where it's annoying and complicated. And that should be handled. Get a couple more of those guys down. Doesn't hurt to have a backup power supply, but we definitely don't need all that. So, Aquilo Support 2, you're going to be going there, and we are going to set this up. So that is removed. You're going to go to Fulgora and wait until you have holmium plates greater than, I don't know, 1,000 maybe? How many of these do we want to bring over at once? Rocket capacity is 1,000, so let's go greater than or equal to 1,000, and we do that, or like 2 minutes of inactivity, and then you go to Aquilo, and you will go there until item count holmium plates is less than or equal to 0, or is it time passed? Probably just what we want. Yeah, probably just. No, probably inactivity as well, just to make sure. Or if you're just sitting there for 2 minutes, you might as well move. So that will hopefully... Let's see, I'm probably forgetting something important there. We are also going to need, at some point, to get one of these guys to bring science back from Aquilo, which will probably also be Aquilo Support 2's job, but that seems like a worry for the future once we actually have any of the things that go into that, because it's like really pretty deep in to get here. We have to get... Okay, it actually outputs some fluoroketone hot as well, which is interesting. It outputs 3. I wonder if you can productivity module these to where you don't need to actually make new fluoroketone. That would be weird. That would be super janky. Alright, so once we get the lithium, then we need solid fuel, fluorine, and ammonia. So the solid fuel we've got here, although it's unclear whether that's going to be enough. So the fluorine is going to be next. Actually, what does lithium plates do? Those are for making cryogenic plants. They also need refined concrete and superconductors and processing units. That's a whole lot of work. Let's just ignore that for now, although... Actually, let's see here. So that, the superconductors are just... Okay, no, the superconductors are kind of annoying. So, fortunately, we have Aquilo support too. So, you can get a couple superconductors in as well. I don't know, let's go with one rocket's worth of those two. They stack up to 1,000. Yeah. So we could get one rocket's worth of those. And so now those are all set up. Those are going to be launching. This 120 seconds of inactivity is apparently, like, just barely enough. Wait, why do you have... Oh, right. I had set it to wait for 1,000 of those, and it's going to launch 1,000 of them, but I only set it to request 100, which is a bit weird. But now we've got those, and is the superconductor supply going to actually be a problem? This is 2 per second. Okay, we might want to stockpile a couple more of those, but it should be fine. And that's all it needs, right? It doesn't need... I feel like there was something which needed supercapacitors. What was that? What uses supercapacitors? Oh, right, that was just equipment stuff. Portable fusion reactor, yeah, so we don't need to worry about that at any point in the near future. Okay, Aquilo Support 2 has started moving on, and it started moving because it's got all of the stuff that I requested it for it to send, so that's good. Okay, so once we have the lithium, we can smelt it up, combine it with some processing units, lithium and refined concrete, to make cryogenic plants, which we'll probably need more of, so let's just get that set up. Can I just find a spot next to some... Find a spot that's just naturally next to some heat pipes for that. You get set up there. And we're going to throw that in, we're going to throw that in. And I'm going to throw some of those in. Okay, so we need to have another one of these smeltery guys in order to do that properly. So that goes out like that, and inputs just across to probably just another belt. Yeah, we're probably going to need to belt those at some point. So now we get the heat pipes all connected and the power pole into there. Okay, and you need to request chromium plates, and I don't know how many for you to ask for, just 100 maybe. That's still on its way. So that's requesting the chromium plates, and it also has more of that refined concrete, which I need. Apparently I'm short on. And some steel. So that should all be good. This is set up to go. Maybe ask you for a little bit more refined concrete as well. Aquilo Support 2 is on its way. So this makes our little thingamabobs, and then we are going to temporarily at least store them like that, and then just run them up to... Oh, I guess we have one of these already built. So I guess we don't need both of these, so we can just dismantle that and instead top off this one. So we can manually run the lithium plates up to there to get more cryogenic plants, and then the other thing we need the lithium for is just directly to make fluoroketone. So that is going to need another cryogenic plant, which I believe we don't have. I guess sworn we'd crafted 2 of these things, but apparently not. Apparently we only crafted the 1. Alright, so yeah, we're going to have to wait for that to show up to start making lithium before we can do that. But for the other cryogenic plant, we can at least set up some of the other stuff. So we need solid fuel, lithium, fluorine, and ammonia. So the ammonia is up there somewhere, so let's start making that journey. Where is it? Is it that vent up there? Literally just one singular vent. Okay, so this goes up, and up it goes, and then we can curve this way and in. Alright, then we get a pump jack, and we get a pipe, which is going to run along this way, and then down this way, not doing some weird loop. The Spidertron decided to move while I wasn't expecting it to. Alright, then that has to sort of do that awkward little jog, and then wind up there somewhere. Then we get the heat pipes, which run alongside them. So let's get those all the way up. And then across, and into that little corner there. Okay, now we need to craft up a couple more big electrical poles. Let's just craft up a couple extras. So we start with one there, and then that can just go all the way down to there, and then we connect that up, and we're all good. So that is power. Next up, we need to get the heat going. The Spidertron, just like awkwardly slowly adjusting its footing, is throwing me off like crazy. Alright, so the heat pipe goes up that way and then turns the corner. And now that is all good. So our next step is we need to get that fluorine like all the way down into this area where we're building. So, let's see here. We also need to get this solid fuel, which we already kind of started doing, so that's fine. So this solid fuel, that heat pipe needs to run down that way. And then this belt is wrong. We instead want you to go down like that-ish, and then get heat piped up, and we're out, apparently. Aquilo support 2, please save us. We send those down. We send the rest of that holmium down, and there we go. Now it's already just instantly leaving. That's fine, it can do that. So this is now running and making its stuff. So now we're making lithium. We're making 0.5 per second there, and we're smelting 0.31 per second there. So that's fine, right? We need ultimately to be producing more of this lithium than we use. Power is still going, although spiked up dramatically with this. Alright, let's... You've got so many spots for modules. We can just sort of do a little bit of each. And if we just do that, then... Okay, that is now incredibly power intensive. I don't know if we have enough power to do that. Actually, let's check. How much power does this thing give us? This is 11 megawatts, almost 12. And this provides enough steam to run those two. No, it's just barely not enough steam to run those two, which means, yeah, our actual power is more like 10 megawatts. So this is like almost fine, but I think we want to take one of those speed modules out and replace it with efficiency module. So this is still fine. Crafting speed plus 5% with 3 productivity modules is still like fine-ish. And then the power consumption is relatively, I mean, it could be a lot lower. It's still like 3 megawatts-ish. Yeah, I don't know if that's... I don't know how important the productivity modules are. I mean, it's going to be very useful for getting the holmium through. Although, if we're just importing the holmium, is that a big deal? Yeah, maybe we trim another productivity module for an efficiency module. Or actually, no. We can just beacon in efficiency there. So we just pop you down, give you more efficiency modules. Now you're minus 40% of your baseline, and you still have your 3 productivity modules and 1 speed module to show for it. So that is fine. That is all around good. This has dropped back down dramatically. Fine with that setup. And now we need to finish... Oh, I never picked up the stuff from that, which is very useful. So now we have our heat pipes again. So those run along here. Get that all powered up. And then we need to take those, bring them up to here. Okay, apparently we had one cryogenic plant just sitting in there. So that's actually great. So now we get you in somewhere like that, probably. Alright, and then tell you to make fluoroketone. Alright, so that runs a little bit further up and is going to be belted in like that. And then we just have to run the heat pipes into there, which is a bit awkward, but at least for now manageable. Then this runs along like that. And now we need to be a bit clever. So the ammonia goes in there, which is easy. The fluorine can go in around the edge. So, you know, something like this, and then because it's coming from all the way up there, then actually no, that it needs to go out a little bit further because we need the fluoroketone to actually have its own pipe. So a lot of this can be heated with that, and then these can go underground to skip across it as needed. And I don't know, let's just get power poles into there. So this, we need those to all get heated up, and we need get the heat pipes all the way around into there so that that is heated up, and it can still escape via this underground pipe. And then this can loop around like that. Yeah, that works. Alright. So, the lithium is our next main obstacle. So the lithium has to go to there, which means those pipes have to go like that, and that just gets imported into there, and then we get a power pole, which apparently doesn't quite connect up. Alright, so now this has got its lithium, it's got its solid fuel, it's got... not this. It doesn't have that. Alright, that's concerning. So we need to get the heat pipes into here. Okay, I think I see how to do that. We take all that stuff out. And then this... Alright, is this even gonna work? Okay, if we have that go underground all the way back to there, does that work? Okay, yes it does. So you just need to go over one into there so you still have access to it. Then that is connected up, and then we can run the heat pipe back that way and get our power pole in. Okay. So, now we need to get the ammonia pipe over to here. So you are going to go underground again and resurface over there somehow. And then you're going to curve and resurface over there. And then that all connects up. We're low on pipes, but hopefully we have more crafting in here. Yes, we do. Put another 100 plates in to just keep that running. And why is that? Oh, are we low on? We're low on ice stuff, actually, not pipes. Okay, so let's grab 30 of those, run down here, get that all built in. Okay, now we need to heat this. So this heating on that corner is easy, we just do that. Over here, we just need to send this lithium brine pipe underground for a little bit, and then bring the heat pipes up to there. And we have ammonia in there. So last but not least is the fluorine, which just needs to go all the way down here, which, let's see here, we just take that, we need it to get on this side of the heat pipe, so that means going underground like that, which means going up and around like that, and then the heat pipes go around to compensate. Then you just run back that way, move the heat pipe a little bit to catch that. Now this can just run down and not go crooked like that, because it needs to stay next to the heat pipe. And yeah, we should be able to just run this basically the entire way, just like this. Although this will cover up like this entire heat pipe and make it completely internal, which isn't ideal. But we have fluoroketone. That is happening now. So that's step one in the process. Step 2 is to just make it cold, which, I mean, is incredibly straightforward, right? So we just get a lithium plant up there somewhere, set you to cool fluoroketone, and then this just goes like that. And we just need to get the heat pipe over, which should be relatively trivial. So all we have to do is take that whole corner bit out. You connect down like that. And then that comes all the way across. Gets that warmed up. Okay, now this... Alright, you're not powered. So you get powered. You are now making cooled fluoroketone. Does this... Alright, this recipe can't be productivity moduled because that would be kind of silly. So we can efficiency module, and I guess if we're efficiency modulating, we can squeeze some speed modules in as well. So it goes a little bit faster, and the efficiency modules should keep the consumption down. So this is 10 to 10, this outputs 10. So we are now officially cooling all the fluoroketone we produce. Okay, so that is that. Now, the only thing we use that for is cryogenic science packs, right? So we just need ice, lithium plates, and cold fluoroketone in a cryogenic plant, which we can just sort of pop in there somewhere, and we are now short on we're now short on concrete. So you don't have any. You are not here right now. You have everything you need. So we're gonna have to bring you up a little bit. And actually, I wonder if we can just build this in a more convenient space. Can we dismantle that concrete that we built there? Do not want to just throw it away like that necessarily. So if we build you like here instead, is that more concrete efficient? No, it's, I think, technically marginally worse. Okay, can we like scrape up some concrete from other locations? Technically a little bit, but nothing meaningful. And power demand is still incredibly low, because that's output full and that's output full. Alright, so in the meantime, while we're waiting for that to get built, we might as well get the other inputs. So we need to get the ice and the lithium plates up to there. So that is this belt and this belt. Fortunately, both have at least a little bit of space. So we need this. Let's see, if this belt here just goes underground a ways, then you can loop up this way. And then you go out there. What are we short on now? That also just requires more concrete to get filled in. So then that would need to come over this way and go up into here somehow. The inserters remain like genuinely the most concerning part of this whole process. I still don't have a completely good grasp on how to get the inserters to cooperate. But we can do that, and that is the lithium plates in, assuming we do something about this box. So we can limit that box a little bit. And you make cryogenic science packs. Okay, then you get that pipe to go across, which means we need that to get heated up. And oh, you also output hot fluoroketone as well as science packs, which is kind of an issue. So we need to get that looped back down into this area, which is going to be kind of hard. It's definitely not going to be easy. So what we need to do is take that back. Now this needs to come across there. This heat pipe needs to accommodate for that. And then this loops back in to connect that up. And now we get this heat pipe out to satisfy this. Alright, so that is that. Then we take these pipes over and we just have that whole thing connected up with more heat pipes. We need so many stupid heat pipes for this. And now also like an infinite supply of concrete, since we're now out over this ice patch. So that is annoying. But that should work, right? I don't know if we're going to have to do some logic-y stuff to make sure that we prioritize this supply of hot fluoroketone. But if we do, it shouldn't be that difficult, right? So then we've got the only thing left is to get the ice cubes in. Okay, so in order to do that, we need this to loop up like that, and then we need it to split actually, and then left needs to be output priority. And hopefully that can work. And then we bring this belt over to here somehow. And it's going to have to go underground that and down to here. Okay, I wonder if we just have this on the opposite side of this belt, would that be fine? So this goes up this way. It's going to be on the left side of that belt. So if we just insert that in there, then this heat pipe needs to connect up to there, but that all works basically. Okay, so then this heat pipe is also the one which we need to continue around to get all of these guys sorted up. So that goes into there, this comes back to there, and that should be everything we need, I think. Although I also seem to have entirely forgotten about getting the science out. But that shouldn't be too hard. We just need to pick somewhere which is relatively convenient. We've already got a heat pipe here, so we might as well use that some more. Get this belt out, and then it'll be going underground to over there, where we will be eventually figuring out rocket launches at some point. But that is going to be a bit of a nightmare as well. So we need to start getting ready for that, though. So the rocket fuel we can create on site, right? Just solid fuel, water, and ammonia is actually kind of tricky to do, but not impossible. Can this get... Alright. We can't productivity module those because it hasn't been built yet. So, okay. Let's see here. We need rocket fuel, which we can make directly from stuff we already have to some extent. We need blue circuits, which I have no idea how we're going to get those. How do we... I mean, that's just impossible, right? Because there's no iron or copper here. So we can't make processing units, so we're just going to have to import them. And I'd imagine same thing with low density structures. So yeah, we're going to be importing those two. Can we just import them from Fulgora? Fulgora's got both of those relatively directly, right? If we go down to here, we've got thousands of blue circuits in storage, thousands of low density structures in storage. Yes, so you can add low density structures from Fulgora and import 200 at a time because that's a single rocket, and also blue circuits from Fulgora. Yeah, Aquilo is quite tricky. Okay, so if you import all of those, and okay, let's remove heat pipes from your list because you can't get them anyways. And instead of that, we were going to say all requests satisfied. So hopefully that will do it. Oh, wait, you need to... Okay, yeah, we need to add an interrupt for refuel so that you go back to novice every so often. Conditions, item count, uranium fuel cells, less than... I might actually be cutting it close. Let's go less than 20 just to make sure. And then you go back to novice. And you go there until item count uranium fuel is greater than, I guess greater than or equal to 100. Save interrupt. Alright, so that is fixed. So you won't just get randomly stranded without power, and you should provide all the stuff we need to Aquilo, although I don't know how practical it is to feed all of that off of just one of these guys. And although we do have... No, don't delete that rocket silo. I want you to build it. So yeah, let's build rocket silo number 2 and get that set up so that Aquilo can launch, so that Fulgora can launch a bit more effectively. Apparently that is just barely out of drone range, because of course it is. And then you also just get powered up and productivity moduled. And let's see, that should be everything. Oh, we need to set those settings in, and then you also need the beacons. So let's get a couple of those and a couple of those, and then apparently this takes a lot of work to dismantle anything on Fulgora, but there we go. So that is all set up, and now you should be running, although you might not have any speed modules. Does the Spidertron have any speed modules? No. Okay, well that's annoying, but fine. So this second one is going to be dramatically slower than the first one. Yeah, we actually badly need those speed modules. Let's see here. Is there anywhere Let's see, Fulgora support. Do you have speed modules on you? Yes, you do. So we need to just make sure that those get brought down to Fulgora. So if we just have you request some speed modules, that should get done eventually. Meanwhile, Aquilo support is above Aquilo. So let's send all that stuff down. And some blue circuits while we have them. Alright. Now those should show up. And any second now. There we go. Now we can grab those. And the heat pipes. So now all of this can get built. And hopefully that's working properly. Apparently we do need more... No, we definitely have enough heat pipes. Where was that heat pipe demand? Alright. Surely we have enough heat pipes. Okay, we have enough heat pipes. The Spidertron doesn't. So I guess we can feed some of them into there just to make sure. Okay, I don't know what I was thinking with that. But that definitely... Oh, that doesn't need to connect up because it's connected down to all this stuff. I think I will connect it up though, just because having that connection is better than not having it probably. And you also have pipes, right? Drop some of those down for me. You're starting to get low. Okay, now power poles go in, and this is making cryogenic science. So that is a success. And can you be productivity module? Yes, you can. Okay. So having all those productivity modules in there absolutely breaks the power grid, just like on its own. So step one is to add a beacons need this stuff too, apparently. So that's fun. So you go underground a little bit so we can map that pipe up to there. And now that's only 8 megawatts of power on its own. But I still think we just take one of those out, replace you with that. Better. I mean, we are technically meeting satisfaction, apparently. And that is dropping down a little bit, but power is... Okay, we need... I think just one more of these ought to do it. With the power of spamming efficiency modules, we will get this done. So now you are down to that. And this does reach you, right? You have 2 beacons. Why does the power grid look like it's worse than it was? Okay, let's just remove a bunch of those. Get all of those in. Okay, so now that is at the limit. So that is as efficient as it can get. And if I take one of those out, then it goes above the limit. Which means that this is basically the situation that we have for it now. So that's just what it has to be like. Okay, so that is all in. Now we need to... What does it take to even craft the silo? 1,000 steel plates, 200 processing units, 200 engine units, 100 pipes, 1,000 concrete. Alright, yeah, we are not crafting all that on Aquilo, so you need to get moving back so that you can start requesting that stuff, and I should set those requests up now before I forget. So steel plate request needs to go up to 1,000. Blue circuit request, I think we have enough blue circuits, right? And we're going to be getting some more of them from Fulgora anyways. So what is the next bit we need? 200 engine units, 100 pipes, and 1,000 concrete. So we need to add those engine units. It was electrical engine units, right? So we get 200 of those. We get 1,000 just regular old concrete. And that should have us cleared, I think. I think we do all that, we should be good. So now we can take some more of these lithium plates, run them up to you, and there's not room for you to output anywhere, because why would there be? Although actually there might be. Is that room in there? No, that's where the machine is. Okay, so you are just sort of stuck in there, which is quite annoying. If we send this to an underground pipe, then we can long-handled inserter them out like that. Alright, give you some more of that for now, so we can get a couple more cryogenic plants. And that is moving along. Aquilo support 2 is on its way with a whole bunch of stuff. So this needs to be set up to request all those things. And also we need, probably at this point, we need to start thinking about drone systems. So I'm pretty sure we had drone ports somewhere. Does the Spidertron have them? Yes, the Spidertron is holding them. Alright, so let's start with the drone ports. And these are probably going to have to be by heat pipes too, aren't they? Yes, they sure are. Alright. Easy enough to solve. Just run that along. Get that in. Now we can get a bulk inserter to a passive provider chest. Like that. Which gets powered up. So that effectively increases the space capacity of the cargo landing pad without adding cargo bays, which are space inefficient. Although I probably have cargo bays, don't I? Let's see here. Any of you guys have cargo bays? I could have sworn that those were one of the things which I brought along. Which means they're probably in here somewhere and I'm just not seeing them. So when in doubt, go to drone mode and just place it down. And yes, indeed, it does exist. And apparently it doesn't even need to be heat piped, so that's cool. So we've got one of those. So that is in. Now we need you to request that and those and rocket fuel. So that should request all those things and get them going. This is taking all of this extra junk and just moving it out of the landing pad so that we don't have to worry about that. And then this... Okay, that's actually just running at full power and everything. That's efficiency module U, just because we can. And should probably get couple efficiency modules into you just to limit you a little bit. And then use that space to get some productivity modules. That ought to be good enough. So we get a little bit of extra productivity out of this. And everything else is good. Okay, so Aquilo support is still making its way back to even pick up the stuff that we need. Aquilo support 2, on the other hand, is almost here to drop off some stuff that it grabbed from Fulgora. So that's all good. Speaking of Fulgora, this did eventually get set up properly, so now we have 2.8 rocket parts per second total. So that's cool. And let's see here. Were we... I don't remember if we were bringing rocket fuel from here too. No. We weren't. And is that something we want to be doing? Yeah, I think so. I think it'll just be easier if Fulgora just doesn't worry about its own stuff at all, and we just... If Aquilo doesn't worry about its own stuff at all, and we just offload all of that demand to Fulgora. At least for now. We aren't going to be doing this forever. At some point, I want all the planets to sort of do like the most that they can possibly do. But for now, I think we're going to leave it like this. So it looks like that stuff mostly got dropped off now. And that is that. Oh, do we need to get this set up? Yeah, I think we do. We need to get this set up in such a way that it doesn't over-request, which is a little bit tricky, but not that bad. Now, the nice thing is, this planet is tiny. The number of drone ports we need is also correspondingly tiny. So if we just get you up there and bring power to you. So that is coverage of, okay, everything except this left side, which is, of course, the part that I want to cover. So let's get a drone port out there as well. Make sure you're next to that. Alright, so now we have basically coverage of everything that I would want to have drone coverage for. So now we can use drone logistics for some things, which the main thing is going to be the rocket launch pad refueling and everything. We're just going to drone that stuff up. Okay, how is this going? We have 75 of these, and this is mostly just running around the clock. It's not short on ammonia or anything. That's all going well. So in some sense, this is like one of the more important things on Aquilo, because it's how we expand here. Because, I mean, we're not building out into this area without a huge amount of that stuff. So I kind of want to just make you go faster. So now that could theoretically take 33 ammonia and 4 ice. This produces 75 and 7.5. So we're like probably fine. That's 45. This is only 5.2. This is only like 7. The ammonia supply, I think the math works out. And if not, I can just replace another one of these efficiency modules with a speed module and be fine. Okay, now the roboports are causing power spikes, But it's not that bad. It's only up to like 5 megawatts at most for like a split second. Yeah, it seems like expanding anywhere on Aquilo is 100% non-optional. Just get huge quantities of this if we want to do literally anything, which is interesting. And that is something we're going to be wanting to do eventually, because again, I kind of at some point want each planet to do like the max that it's capable of. So we are going to want to expand Aquilo at some point. That point is not right now, though. Alright, so this is loading up all of its stuff. And we have... Apparently our steel plate buffer on Novice is just cartoonishly small. Where is that? We need that to buffer more than 1,000 at a time. That's not nearly enough. Alright, yeah, you can just be an entire box. That should be okay. So now that's going. We've got plenty of those. Apparently the electric engine units, we only have 100 buffer. So where do we make those? In here somewhere, right? Yeah, so that's not enough either. So let's give them plenty of extra space to do stuff. There we go. Also, how's our quality productivity modules going? It's been a while since we stared at those. We're up to 58 of them. That's pretty neat. Quite happy with that. And we've got tons of those, so it's the green circuits which are the problem. Alright, we need... Let's see here. This is 19. How do we... At some point I figured out how to do that. So that outputs 5. This... If that... It outputs that plus 5. What on earth was I doing with this? I had some clever scheme. Oh boy, that's fun. We have a new type of spam. Normally the spammers advertise for a different viewbotting website, and I have that phrase auto blocked. But that one they've got some competition in the marketplace apparently. We'll see if that one comes around a couple more times, then I'll have to get that one auto-blocked as well. Okay, so Aquilo support 2. You are just chilling over Aquilo. So that's all fine. Alright, so we have everything here that we would need to launch a rocket. Oh, we don't have the rocket fuel yet, actually. So we're pretty shortly going to have everything we need to launch a rocket. Once this just makes another round trip. And then it'll just be a question of actually getting the rocket thing set up. Okay, I've just realized something, which is that this has just been sitting idle for a while, when there's no reason we shouldn't just be accumulating science, so that, because the production speed is still relatively, I mean, it's like kind of incredibly slow actually. Yeah, do we need all these productivity modules? What's going into this? Almost no lithium plates. Like 10% of what we have. A relatively trivial amount of ice cubes, which we're not worried about at all. And almost, yeah, okay, let's just get... Oh, wait, no, not the efficiency modules. We want the efficiency modules. I think I just don't care about productivity for this. Let's take those out. Now this is... Yeah, let's actually just do speed modules. So now you are going a little bit faster. And if we just do that. So that should be fine, right? That's 0.3 lithium plates. This is 0.31 lithium plates. Okay, that's actually a little bit sketch. But we can always speed you up as well. Alright, so now we have plenty of lithium plates, because the reason I'm not fine with that just being like a perfect ratio is we do want some spares for other purposes. Then that's 1.7 of the fluoroketone. This produces 10, so that's not at all an issue. Then 0.89 ice cubes. How's our ice cube supply going? We have 7.5. One goes there, so we have 6.5 left over. 4 goes there, so we're using 5 out of 5.16 out of 7.5. Alright, so yeah, this does just work. We have plenty of everything. It's not a concern. If we were scaling up a lot, then maybe the productivity modules might be better, but honestly, I don't even know if that's true. Like, the amount of work required... Okay, no, the holmium solution. The holmium is basically the only limiting factor, and I guess the lithium brine. Yeah, actually, how do we make... Because that's finite, right? I guess there are probably more... There are probably more cubes out like this somewhere with more lithium brine, like out in the void. But that is technically a finite resource, right? Is there some way of crafting it somehow? Let's go to Factorio. Lithium brine. It's gathered from those. Okay, so there's no crafting recipe for that, meaning that is very much a limited resource. Unless we go out... I mean, there's gotta be, like, some random lithium brine deposit out if we just keep going, right? So let's actually just make a radar and see if we can spot, like, I don't know, further distant patches of that sort of stuff, or if we are genuinely just alone here. Alright, so we have to get that down to our radar. And let's see if that tells us anything. So that is just going to have to run for a little bit. Alright, so this is going 0.3 science per second. Still isn't that great. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse, and we have quite a head start. So, Aquilo support, what do you have? You don't have enough electric engine units. But if we set this to custom minimum payload of 200, then you should be able to get those launched. And then we should have everything else. And then we're just going to have to take this all the way back up to Aquilo. The trip is quite lengthy. But it should make it eventually. And then we should be good to go. Alright. Gosh, the delay. The delay sure is lengthy for this. There it is. The engine units show up. And now you can move on. We've got plenty of steel. We've got enough blue circuits. We've got enough concrete. Alright, yeah, so we should be good to go for getting a rocket launch site crafted. Although we will need to, I guess, actually make the crafting site. So let's just pop you down there and run over to it. You are going to be crafting the rocket silo. And do we have requester chests? I bet this guy does. Yes, he does. So you get a passive provider chest with a requester chest with a bulk inserter. That just gets warmed up nice and easily. Then we get the power grid connected across. By the way, how's the temperature going? This isn't, like, it isn't falling dramatically or anything. We've got plenty of solid fuel to keep everything running, so that all looks good. Alright, now we just get this hooked up to read ingredients, set requests, and oh, we need to, I have this drone technically set up, but we need to give it some actual drones. So the supply of drones on this planet is actually not incredible right now. Do you have any of those? No. Do you have any of those? No, and you're already on your way, so I'm not going to set them now. I guess you can... I guess you can go back to Novice and get things set up. Okay. I don't know why that's red when it's... Oh, it's 876 out of whatever. That's why it's red. We have them, we just don't quite have enough. So the blue circuits have been launched. The rocket fuel I need to set to grab from Fulgora. So let's do that. Alright, so yeah, that's fine. I was gonna see if I wanted to send you back. Oh wait, what's going on with you? Oh, right, okay. I have this set up to store the steam up and then discharge it later so that we are not constantly draining 2 reactors worth of fuel when we don't need it. But I saw these red lights blinking and I panicked. Pretty sure it's fine though. Because I mean, this one has the exact same identical setup and it's going just fine. Right, so this is... It's definitely outputting that it's full. And these are disabled. Yeah. Utter panic. Oh wait, yeah. Basically, exactly what happened. So yeah, this one actually just did the thing moments ago. So that's all fine. Our radar scanner sure is scanning. And so far there's no magical lithium brine out in the ocean. Hopefully that'll show up though. So our science, we have 189 science stockpiled now. So that is something. This seems to be working around the clock. Right, yeah, so this is going to be working around the clock for the foreseeable future. It's enough that I might consider putting a second one in if it weren't for, you know, the space constraints of it all. Okay, now that we have drone ports, let's upgrade that to that. And I guess we can sacrifice some of our own logistics bots and some of our own construction bots so that this is technically capable of doing some drone-related activities. But boy, do we need a lot more of them. So we are going to request like 200 of each drone, just so we can get enough of them all in one giant batch the next time you make a complete trip. So this is going to take a long time to get set up, so we can get started ahead of time with what we have. We can also dump some of that steel in. pipes are all good. The concrete is like one of the bigger things, and we don't have any of that, but it is what it is. Also have some spare blue circuits that we can dump in. Now those have shown up. And that is doing its thing now. So that's all good. And this is almost here. I mean, it's only got halfway left on the last leg of the trip. So now let's look at this. We've got 200 EM science. What is that? What does that let us do? We can't do that. Should be able to just about do that. Get up to 250, and then the biolabs will get us the rest of the way. Foundations, not especially close to that. Legendary quality is very far off, and then rocket part productivity we do not need at all. So if we unlock the quantum processors, then that gives us nothing valuable directly, but then it gives us another 2,000 science to work towards the fusion reactor, which we can then do stuff with to eventually like beat the game, I guess. Solar system edge is how you beat the game. So yeah, that's a thing, but basically, so this needs essentially 2,500 science in order to get anything useful out of this. And that's either railguns or fusion reactor, probably fusion reactor. This needs 3,000 science. Foundation only needs 2,000, which is much better. Legendary quality is 5,000, so I guess like the closest thing we can get is Foundation, which requires stone, tungsten, carbon fiber, lithium plate, and fluoroketone. So that's just like unique materials of every planet, except there's no biter eggs or uranium for novice. So that's going to be a nightmare to get set up, but is technically possible. And once we have it, then we would be able to like expand on Fulgora, and it's probably way too expensive to be practical on Aquilo when the ice stuff is an option. So this is just like purely for expanding on Fulgora, basically, which is fine. Then the other alternative would be the fusion reactors, which require a whole bunch of quantum processors and not much more than that. We need a steady supply of holmium plates for the power cells, though. So what is the difference? So this fusion reactor takes 4 fluoroketone per second. And that is apparently 100 megawatts. It consumes 10 megawatts. And it outputs 4 plasma per second. And the plasma gives you hot fluoroketone. Alright, yeah, that's all seems very complicated. So we're just gonna... I guess we're just gonna unlock foundations first. But we're gonna need more than this, honestly. Like, we're gonna need to expand Fulgora. We're gonna need to expand Aquilo before we really do anything with it. So we need more stuff to make more cryogenic science. Is the fluoroketone here starting to back up? No, it's just sort of oscillating around its same general value. At least that's what it seems to be at a glance. Yeah, we might have to Okay, why do you have 0 solid fuel? I guess you just grab it in as you need it. Yes, we might need to limit this based on the amount of storage for hot fluoroketone, just to make sure that this doesn't get limited by that. So let's just connect that up just in case. So that goes up to there. You are read contents, and you are enable disable if fluoroketone hot is greater than like 50 or something. Oh wait, no, that's, I have it backwards. That should be if it's less than 50. So that should work out, and it should never happen. Like that signal should basically just never trigger. But if something goes wrong, then we have it, and we won't have to notice that something's wrong and fix it later. Alright, so we now have enough of this stuff that we could unlock the processor chip things, whatever, which, what did those unlock? Fusion reactors, which is a whole complicated thing. Okay, captive biter spawner isn't even like that useful though. It's just like mildly convenient more than anything. Same thing with the foundations. It would be cool for Fulgora, but isn't super useful. So I guess we will just go down the path of the fusion reactor stuff, because that at least provides power supply, which will be very handy. So this is all going, and where is that rocket? You are basically here at this point. Very good. Launch that, launch that, launch those, launch more of the steel, and now we start getting the concrete down, and some refined concrete. Okay, I think we're good on heat pipes, but you can never be too sure. So let's get all of this stuff launched as well, and that should have us covered. So now this should be, let's see, let's move some of this stuff manually so that it doesn't take 20 months off of our absolutely minuscule amount of stuff. Alright, so that is now everything except the electric engine units supplied. The electrical engine units are moving now. So we can toss those in like that. And okay, just the last couple of drones trickling through to get those delivered. And there we go. We are now crafting a rocket silo. And we're loading resources in to start crafting more in the future, which I don't know how long it'll be before we ever do that, but might as well. Alright, rocket silo acquired. So then we are just going to pop this over there somewhere. The drones are going to spend about a month getting that all built. And then apparently charging up is tricky. Yeah, we used a whole lot of that power. Oh, and we need, where's the storage chests? Of course, we need some weird stuff that I didn't bring. Of course. That's annoying. So we need plastic, which I don't think we can get because there's no coal here. There is just like base oil, but that's gonna be a whole different process. Alright. Yeah, we need to get storage chests if we want this logistics network thing to work. So, how do we go about doing that? I can't believe I didn't bring them. Right? There's none in there. None in there. I guess I'll place a couple down just in case I'm somehow missing them. But yeah, no storage chests anywhere. So that is unfortunate. And now all of those bots are just sort of stranded. Ah well. So now we just run the heat pipe out to you. Give you a requester chest, which then we need to power. And this requester chest is going to be... Where is it? Rocket fuel, blue circuits, low density structures, and rocket fuel. And then you are going to be productivity moduled and efficiency moduled. So let's get the beacons in. Alright, so the beacons are here. And they have their modules. Now we just need to get them heated up and powered. Like that. So now this takes an acceptable amount of power and not the entire production of our entire thing. It's still plus 60%, but that's fine. Like the beacons themselves aren't completely free either. Alright, so Aquilo support, you need to get storage chests, and do we need any of these other things? Not really. I never use those. Alright, so then you can go back. You can go back and start working on grabbing those. And now this is just running painfully slowly, but it is running. So we can change that to a passive provider chest for the science, so that this can all be set up. And let's see here, just random stuff being damaged back on novice. Meanwhile, okay, that might be something off in the distance, and there is maybe a little rock in there. So yeah, if the lithium brine runs out, because that is a finite source. So if that all runs out, then I don't know what exactly we're supposed to do, although it shouldn't run out fast, right? This is 5 per minute and is dramatically overkill. So it's probably not going to be something we need to worry about for a very long time. But I do want to start thinking about it preemptively. Alright, so this is now going. It's very, very slowly. Yeah, can I just get... Alright, let's just get, like, another 1 or 2 of these guys in. That one is going to need to be heated. So you get speed modules, you get efficiency modules. So now you are back up to approximately normal speed. So like 0.5-ish per second. Which is not as fast as the ones anywhere else, but also we're basically only going to be launching science from here probably. At least for now. So that should be fine in the short term. Although this is back up to being a power issue. Although the beacons themselves are also a bit of a power issue. And this, for some reason, isn't. Why are you not doing anything near your max? Oh, I see. Interesting. So it's just launching the rocket, I guess, where this uses a huge amount of power. Okay, do we need, like, accumulators or something? Do we have any of those? Yes, we have accumulators. So we can just find somewhere with empty space. Pop down a row of those. And hopefully that should be all we need. Because this is a lot of power, but only for a tiny amount of time. So just a couple accumulators should have that all sorted out. So that power spike shouldn't be an issue anymore. It was very mildly worrying for about 5 seconds. Alright, so this is now all looking pretty good. Okay, I might want to be more efficient on my fuel consumption. So, let's see, can we... If we connect you up to the grid, you are read fuel, read temperature. Okay, so yeah, we can actually potentially do that, although I don't know if it's necessary because the power demand isn't... I mean, we're clearly doing fine on our solid fuel, right? Like, we've got this guy. He's working just fine. Although, I guess, yeah, it should be okay to do this. So if we get you connected up to that, you are going to be read temperature. You're going to be enable disable if T is less than 500. Let's see here. So this requires a minimum temperature of 500. So we want there to be some buffer room. So you can be 600. So now you aren't going to run until that temperature is correct. And, okay, so the problem is that if we mess this up and it all gets broken, then the whole system explodes. But it should be fine. I think we have a bunch of nuclear fuel around here to jumpstart things if we need to. So if we just copy-paste those across, then that should keep our temperature balanced around 600. In theory. In theory. And Aquilo support is not even made it to Gleba yet. It's just got so far to go. So that is going to take a while. But we have 2 whole rockets set up. And our accumulators are charged. Science is sciencing. We're up to 500. And we need like 2,500, right, before any of the tech happens. So if we pull up this, that's 2,000. So we need to keep in mind biolabs are twice as effective. So we need 1,000 for foundations, 250 for quantum processors, and another 1,000 for fusion reactors. 1,500 for those, 2,500 for those, 1,500 for those. So yeah, basically we need to get up to 1250 cryogenic science before we can actually research anything meaningful. I guess, though, that you can just get the whatchamacallits done first. So this, you can ask for at least, you can ask for 1,000 of them, but set a minimum payload of 250. And then we need to set you to automatic requests. So now that should, our 13 drones that we have here, such a small number. So our 13 drones that we have here should now be loading this guy up. And then they should get as much as they can up and then launch them. And then that will eventually make its way back. So then we need to add some way for you to get this back to Novice, despite the fact that you mostly go between Aquilo and Fulgora. And I guess your interrupt is going to have to be just kind of scuffed. So science, conditions, item count, cryogenic science is greater than 250. Targets Novice until like 30 seconds of inactivity or something. I don't know. Save that interrupt. So you should have that now. And now we're going to be here waiting for your 120 seconds of inactivity, which is never going to happen because you keep launching random stuff down like one item at a time. Okay, yeah, we need to... Okay, rather than 120 seconds of inactivity, let's just have that be 120 seconds past. So you have the science you need. And let's make that an or. So you should... Yes, so you are now successfully heading back to Novice as a temporary stop. And what has happened to the power grid? The steam turbines have stopped producing. Why is that? Why have you done this? No input fluid. Because this isn't getting enough ice. Alright, well that's not great. Why has this happened? So you have plenty of everything but no power. Okay, maybe we need to... So this had nothing to do with it, right? So it was still plenty hot. And it was... Oh, I see. The power demand drained all the steam out of everything. Okay. So that is a little bit concerning. Do we have just... So we can pre-fill you with ice. We can't pre-fill you with water, though, which is not good. And we also kind of need to do this fast, although we have technically solar power. So this shouldn't be completely bricked, right? Okay, so we technically have solar power, but that's not helpful, really, because it's not nearly enough. So we need this... We need this to run. We need to get water into here to start everything off. Yeah, this is not good. How do we get water? Can our solar power do anything? Max output 60 kilowatts. These are producing their 1% of power, but it's just not meaningfully going into anything. Okay, how do we restart this? How do we restart this? Technically, the amount of time we have before it all freezes is not infinite. So, first of all, thing I'm confused about is how this even happened to begin with. Because we should be producing 20 water per second from this, which should keep us with constant supply of steam in here. So I don't know how this happened. I simply do not understand. So one thing is that the accumulators failed at 3.5 minutes ago. The power grid failed exactly 30 seconds after. No, wait. This was the accumulators discharging. The power grid collapsed, then the accumulators discharged to try to keep up. Obviously not going to work. So the power grid failing had nothing to do with the accumulators then, probably. And so we are left with the question, how did this happen? Was it too much ice? So there's no ice here. There is leftover ammonia, but no leftover ice. And there's no ice on this belt. I think I know what happened, actually. Okay, so we need to do this. So you read contents. You enable disable if ice is greater than, I don't know, 10 maybe, 20? Okay, so I think what happened is that of the ice output that came from this, it all went up here, and none of it came down here. Alright, so how do we get the water, though? How do we get water into this without any power grid? Okay, maybe... Okay, I hate doing this, but desperate times call for desperate measures. If we dismantle a significant chunk of the grid... So, let's see. We've got this providing solar power. So if we take you out, take you out, take you out, take that out. Now, none of that is connected. Now this is no longer completely failing. It's pretty dang close, though. So the main power draw here is the roboport, so let's take that out. Now, this has the ability to run because all the power has been diverted to it. That will provide us our ice cubes into water. And once the water hits here, we're golden. Once that happens, then the steam shows up and we're all good. I think. Right, so this goes through. It's almost there. And that is going to hit, and there we go. Now we're chilling. So the power grid is back up, at least temporarily. Okay, no, you are ammonia output full. That is indeed the problem. So that ammonia output full, how do we deal with that? So I thought that this would be fine because this is just constant. Oh, that's what happened. We stopped continually burning solid fuel, which meant that this stopped being a constant ammonia drain, which prevented the because this is only ammonia drain if we also have ice. So without this, none of it works. Alright, yeah, so that makes sense. So what we need to do is have that just going continually. Now, we connect the grid back up. So we get everything connected back up to the power grid. Now everything can run because we have our steam. And this, I mean, it's crazy spikes because all the roboports are recharging. But we should be able to get through that. So yeah, we have plenty of water. This is providing its ice. This didn't work. Okay, so this doesn't work because this doesn't take any excess ice. So we need that to actually be connected to there. And this is set to read belt contents, hold all belts. And that has to be greater than, like, 6, let's say. Alright, I think we're cleared. I think we should be back. So this is still occasionally demanding ammonia, which means we will still occasionally get our ice output. And we should be completely in the clear. And we can get this drone port back in now that everything is okay. Alright, so that should be all set up. Let's see, the ice supply is recovering. This is output full again. Temperature is back up because we have that guy running continually. This guy might not even need to run because the temperature is overall fine. Okay, Aquilo support, meanwhile, is back here. And now you can turn around. You have everything we asked for, so you can just turn around and get back to Aquilo. And provide us with those storage chests to get everything going. Alright, yeah, so this is back up running properly. There are more things out there, but they are kind of sparsely located, just a little bit. And so far, none of them have more lithium brine. So if that ever does become a problem, then we might be kind of screwed. Or hopefully we'll just discover more at some point soon, and then we won't be. Okay, so Aquilo support 2. You're back to novice. You seem to... Oh wait, no. Not that. That. Drop that stuff down. And then your 30 seconds of inactivity should pass, and you should head back to somewhere. Probably Fulgora. Alright, and now we can click and queue research on that. And actually, our science has been dead for ages, so we should probably investigate that. What has gone wrong with our science production? So if we look up to here, these guys don't have metallurgic science. That's a problem which we haven't had in a while. So Vulcanist support. I could have sworn these guys were designed to transport metallurgic science, but they don't seem to actually be doing that. And we have plenty of it, right? We've got this nice solid box with 909 for some reason. Let's uncap that a bit. That might actually have been the problem if we had a weird maximum set or a weird minimum set that was like 1,000 or something, but we only had 900 in there. That could easily be the problem. So hopefully that gets fixed up now. And this is still getting produced relatively easily. How's the tungsten supply going, by the way? Not great. We only have 113k left there, so we're gonna have to deal with Vulcanus soon, on top of everything else that we're working on at the moment. Add another thing onto the pile, I guess. But we have most of the types of science. Vulcanus support 2, you are almost back, which means you definitely left before we made that change. Vulcanus support 1 is still on its way. And Vulcanus support 3 is just stuck. Why are you just sitting here? I don't know why you're just sitting here. I guess let's get you going. There's no point just sitting there doing literally nothing. So, how were you set up? Were you set up that these have... Yeah. Minimum payload of 1,000, but because of that box, we only had 900. So that is indeed almost certainly why the metallurgic science was stopped. So now that's fixed. We're getting like 1.3 a second, so that should never be the bottleneck. Assuming we can get it through there. Actually, we might be able to... We have transport platform there, so let's just like get 1,000 of that launched up to here and then send this back just so we can get that going a little bit faster. I want to see this quantum processor get researched before the end of the stream, if at all possible. So that should be launching any second now. Yep, there it goes. And okay, now all 3 Vulcanus supports are on the same leg of the trip, very similar spots along their journey. The transport platform has the science, so that lands. And now you go back to Novice to drop that off. You're still functional, right? Yeah, you still technically work. It's an ancient design, but it's got guns on the front and it's got an engine, which really all you need for going between Vulcanus and Novice. Okay, so back over here, this is all still going. Everything here is fine. We've got another 257 of that built up, but you are indeed output full on that, which means this needs to be set down to like 1. Okay, so we should be able to fix this by just dismantling that, building that in. Now, those can take some of the excess. And we might need... Yeah, we might need to just put a storage tank in. I have steel plates around here somewhere, right? Not in there, not in there. Not in there, but there are some in here. So I might need to just get a storage tank so that the amount we hold can get higher, rather than just like the 1 or 2 that we're currently dealing with. Okay, so the storage tank could go into there. It can get heated up from there. Then this needs to... We need to get this pipe across the heat pipe, which means it needs to... Right, you can't do that because there's another random pipe there, so we'll have to do it further up this way. It should still be fine, so you go back that way This should be possible because there's a heat pipe up there to connect into these. And then that goes across. And then that connects back up. Alright, then this comes down. That is kind of just random nonsense, which we don't need. We can put the power line there and bring the heat pipes in. Alright, so that is all covered. And now we connect up that. So now this stores a fluoroketone, which this can then connect into. So this can then be less than like 1,000 maybe. Set that. So this should be disabled until this goes down to 1,000, which means this should be able to run stably for basically forever until we run out of some other thing. So that should be all fine. This is almost here to get the storage chests to fix our drone system, and the drones as well to fix our drone system. So that's cool. And let's see, transport platform most of the way back. So that science is going to be happening soon. It's marginally slower than this one, which has 3 engines. Alright, so that arrives right about now. And here we are. And we can drop off logistics bots, construction bots, and storage chests. And we can also drop off some more pipes and underground pipes, and refined concrete, and regular concrete might as well. We need that to pave over basically everything, so we might as well drop it. It's not like it's expensive back on Novice anyways. Alright. So that is all going. And now we just need... to get these logistics bots into the system. Like that. And... okay. So now those are all up and running. We just need to get the rest of these bots in as well. Like that. Okay, but I want to save like 50 for myself. Alright, so that... now it's all going. And they're going to be very, very slow for the short term, because they need to charge up. And... alright, now the beacon... alright, no. The beacon was stationary. The Roboport demand is spiked. Might be a problem. It should decrease back to normal levels once these guys have all gotten themselves figured out, though. So it should be a temporary blip, and we do still have our accumulators, which... honestly, let's just... do these need... okay, apparently accumulators don't need... apparently they do not need the... what's it called? Heat pipes. I think I'd read that previously, but now we know it for sure. So now we have even more storage, which should hopefully keep us going through any crazy spikes. And even like this, we are able to keep everything. We are able to even fuel the accumulators a bunch. So that should be all good. And now the drones, I don't know what exactly they're doing. There shouldn't be that much demand for them. I guess if they just need to bring those things over, but they shouldn't be doing all that much. Okay, yeah, Roboport demand is crashed. And now we should be back up to normal. So yeah, now we're all good. Everything is back to being fine. And that's cool. So, transport platform. Now you're hovering over Novice. And you've sent the science down. But these guys still aren't running. Why do you not have... Oh, I never requested it, obviously. I have to go into these and request the cryogenic science to get that in. And then all these biolabs should basically just blitz us through quantum processors. Although it might not get distributed quite evenly if this one got dibs first. I want these two to also get some. Alright, science is now cooking. And Vulcanist support, you aren't bringing anything back. But that might just be because we delivered all of the science we had. Where's our science? So this is back up to around 1K. So yeah, that should happen eventually. Like the next one here should pick up more science and bring it back. You are set to do that, right? Yes, you are. Very good. And then back on Novice, we've got a pretty inefficient use of this, but it's fine. Kind of want to just like distribute those more evenly. But it should be okay. And we don't actually need that much. Remaining time estimate is a minute or so before we get quantum processors unlocked. And then we'll take a good look at what exactly those need, which I haven't really done yet. So we'll have to figure out what we need to craft the quantum processors, and that will basically be our job for next time. It is annoying that we're just like only using this one row because of just how it got delivered. So yeah, that has crashed down a bunch. But we are up to 330 out of 500. No sign of stopping. And 72 science packs to spare in there. And in the future, it'll be distributed more evenly. It's just because I pasted that one before I pasted the other three, which means that by the time the other three had requests, this one had dibs on most of them. Alright, so that's all going. It's fun to just see all these drones go around. Presumably each of them is doing something useful. One would hope, at least. Okay, speaking of, I happened to see a drone picking up bioflux. This is all working fine. No issues there. It's all looping around properly. We've got this box full of 190 eggs, but all of those have pickup requests. So that's all good. This is still making these, and then mostly just sending them down to get mashed up into higher quality biter eggs. Okay, that's actually a problem. It's probably a good thing I happen to see that now. So we have systems which are designed to prevent biter eggs from building up anywhere in this area. They theoretically should only build up over here, but it seems like that got through. Alright, we researched that technology. Vulcanist Support 3 ran out of ammo somehow. How has that possibly happened? Who knows? But it has. So our ammo supply is here, and it is producing as fast as it can off of its kind of mediocre modules and everything. So I guess hopefully that just has some time to warm back up. But we've done our science. So where quantum processors, what do you take? Oh right. It's a little bit of everything. Tungsten carbide, superconductors, carbon fiber, lithium plate, fluoroketone. So lithium, fluoroketone are from Aquilo, carbon fibers from Gleba, superconductors from Fulgora, tungsten carbide from Vulcanus, and processing units from wherever I can be bothered to grab them from, basically. And that gives us quantum processors, which I assume we need to craft these guys. We need 250 of them to make the reactor, and 50 of them to make the generators. Fortunately, do not need them for the power cells. So that'll be fine. And then the rail guns, we need a bunch of them for that as well. Railgun ammo is hilariously cheap, which is, I guess, lore accurate to how railguns work, right? I mean, it's basically just a chunk of metal that's going super fast. Actually, what are the explosives for? Answer me that question, Factorio people. Why does a railgun have explosives? There's no explosions used anywhere in the process of a railgun. Alright, whatever. That's just nitpicking. Whatever. Alright, so yeah, I think this is a good point to wrap up for today. We have managed to fix a slight catastrophe in the power grid, and now we have science production and the ability to launch some rockets. So that's all good. Everything on Aquilo is working for now. We also have enough ice platforms to do very, very minor expansions, but we're going to have to improve that even more. But yeah, that's about it for now. We're going to be coming back to this on Friday, where we're hopefully just going to be starting to work on expanding everything out, like on all the different planets. So if you're interested in that, make sure to stop by then. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, alternating between Satisfactory and Factorio. So if you're interested in Satisfactory, I'll be doing that tomorrow, where I am making a neural quantum processor factory. Otherwise, I'll be back here on Friday. So make sure to follow if you haven't already. And thanks for hanging out if you have already followed. That's pretty cool. And that's about it. So yeah.